PNEA scholarship recipients, Missouri Scholars Academy awardees, Missouri Scholars 100, students with perfect score on their SAT, ACT, Missouri Student Journalist of the Year, 2024 Early College Partnership graduates, St. Louis Community College Sports Marketing Scholarship recipient, Missouri Scholastic Gold Key Writing Awards, and the 2024 Missouri School Business Official of the Year. So first, I would like to welcome Moira McCracken, PNEA President, to introduce the winners of the Martin Luther King Jr. Poster Essay Contest and the PNEA Scholarship recipients.
Good evening, Dr. Marty, Mrs. Stover, Mr. Todd, Mrs. Hopper. Ooh, I don't see her actually. That's what, thank you. And the other distinguished members of the Board of Education. It is my pleasure to have to be able to share the exciting accomplishments of the students and staff with you this evening. The Missouri National Education Association holds a yearly poster and essay competition to honor Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy. Parkway has a history of placing very well in this competition, and this year our students did not disappoint. I'm going to recognize the winners we have from the district level, as well as those that went on to win at the state level. Students, when you hear your name, if you would come up and shake hands with the Board of Education and Dr. Marty. I'm going to see if I can click this the correct direction. Nope. Nope. There we go. I can figure it out. Thank you. All right, so starting in the kindergarten through second grade category, we have Yashvi Galopoli from Henry Elementary, who placed first at both the state and the district competitions. We have Shrita Shresh from Shenandoah Valley Elementary, who placed second at both the district and state competitions. And we have Blair Mandel from Mason Ridge Elementary, who placed third in the district competition. And you can see their amazing artwork up on the screen there. Next, we have the third through fifth grade category. Starting off, we have Emma Jameson from Shenandoah Valley Elementary, who placed second in the district competition and first in the state competition. We have Rhea Jane from Henry Elementary, who placed first in the district competition. And Mallory Otto from Henry Elementary, who placed third in the district competition. And you can see their amazing artwork on the screen. Now, I will say that the competition, they changed it a little bit this year, and for the sixth grade all the way up through seniors in high school, they kind of split it off, and they had essay competitions and poster competitions, which were separate. So for the sixth through eighth grade category, I know you can't read their essays up there, but they had some pretty good essays. We have Shri Nadi Sakal Kumar from West Middle School, who placed first. So Shri actually placed first in Parkway with her essay, and third with their poster, but then also won third place in the state for the poster. We also have Miriam Alvarez Bedoya from South Middle School, who placed second in the district competition for her essay. And finally, in the 9th through 12th grade category, we have Shay Lyle from West High School, who placed first at both the district and state competition. And Milana Hegeman, from also from West High School, who placed second at both the district and state competitions. So congratulations to all the very, very talented students that we have here. I would next like to take the opportunity to recognize the winners of the 2024 PNEA scholarships and grants. So Parkway NEA works really hard to support our members, and one of our most noticeable ways is through our scholarship and grant program. This year, we gave our members a total of $11,000 to support them. On the screen, you'll see the names of our recipients. Some of the various projects that we're supporting include classes for professional development, national board certification, and graduate classes, as well as classroom projects such as increasing student book offerings, purchasing classroom equipment, and ensuring creative opportunities for student learning. In addition, Parkway NEA loves to support students who plan to become educators. This year, we've awarded $5,000 to support such students. For these students present, when you hear your name, please come up and shake hands with our Board of Education and Dr. Marty. So starting with Central High School, we have Rachel Land. At North High School, we have Trenton Watkins. From South High, we have Sophia Little. And from West High, we have Romy Taylor. We also have the Gene Olson Memorial Scholarship, which goes to, again, to a student who's studying to be an educator, but this is specifically for the dependent of one of our members. And this year, we chose Abigail Mahfood, who is a student at the University of Missouri-Columbia and is a child of our PNEA member, Linda Mahfood. Truly, congratulations to all of our scholarship winners, and we sincerely hope you have the most success and come back to Parkway when you're done. Thank you.
Next, please welcome Dr. Kevin Beckner, who's going to introduce the Missouri Scholars Academy.
Well, good evening. A wonderful night of recognitions of academic achievement and success for many of our students. The Missouri Scholars Academy is a 3-week academic program for 330 of Missouri's gifted students ready to begin their journey or begin their junior year in high school. The Academy is a residential program held on the campus of the University of Missouri. Students are selected by their GPA, their standardized test scores, their IQs, recommendations, and formal essays. 11 Parkway students have been selected to participate in the Missouri Scholars Academy this summer. If you would please come forward as I call your name. We have 3 students who are here from Central High. They are Aiden Moon, Lawson Robinson, and Esther Wang. We have 2 students who are recognized from North High. Those are Prakar Singh and Nora Huntenbricker. From South High School, we have Allie Horseman, Akshita Santosh Kumar, and Dean Ullum. And from West High, we have Anish Jindal, Nikki Paquette, and Umar Rafiq. Next, we have the Missouri Scholars 100 program. The Missouri Scholars 100 list is a statewide program that honors 100 of Missouri's top academic students in the graduating class of 2024. Schools across Missouri nominate candidates for this statewide recognition. The selection is based primarily on a formula using the student's GPA, ACT, or SAT score. Each student nominated had to meet the criteria of an economic decathlon, which is 10 individual events designed to assure the academic strength of each student. To meet the decathlon requirements, the student must have a minimum GPA of 3.75, a minimum ACT score of 29, or a minimum SAT score of 1900. They also have to be ranked in the upper 10% of their class and have taken upper-level math, science, English, and language courses. The student must also have excellent attendance, be an exemplary school citizen, and be involved in the school activity program. And this year, we have 6 Parkway High School students who were selected for 2024. They are from Central High, AJ Eisenberg and Rachel Lee. From North High, Charlotte Broad. From South High, Mazakan Nadaf. And from West High, Audrey Ghosh and Jason Sau. And we have 2 Parkway students who received a perfect score on their ACT. The ACT consists of tests in English, mathematics, reading, and science, each scored on a scale from 1 to 36. A student's composite is the average of all 4 of those test scores. The ACT is a curriculum-based achievement measure that assesses what students learn in school. Students who earn a score of 36 have likely mastered all of the skills and knowledge they'll need to succeed in first-year college courses. Nationally, while the actual number of students earning the top ACT score varies from year to year, on average, fewer than 1% of students who take the ACT earn a top score. In the U.S. high school graduating class of 2022, only 3,300 out of about 1.3 million students who took the ACT earned a perfect score. So please join me in congratulating 2 students, one from North High, Ray Rao. And unable to attend tonight, but we want to honor the student as well from West High, Sasha Tripavi.
Next, please welcome Dr. John McCabe, West High Principal, and Lindsay Katz, Journalism Teacher at West High.
Good evening, Dr. Marty, Ms. Stover, our esteemed Board of Education. Honor to be here tonight, and we have the honor of discussing an incredible accomplishment by one of West High's most talented students, Miss Elizabeth Franklin. The Missouri Student Journalist of the Year competition annually honors the top student journalist from the state of Missouri. To apply, journalists enter a rigorous process of building a portfolio, highlighting their work in the following areas: editing, leadership, and team building, reporting and writing, design, broadcast, photojournalism, web and social media, law, ethics, and news literacy, marketing and audience engagement, as well as commitment to diversity. Since 1969, the Missouri Interscholastic Journalism Association has honored student journalists from all over the Show Me State. Elizabeth Franklin is the first journalist from Parkway West High School to earn this honor. Elizabeth is one of the editors-in-chief of our Pathfinder, the Parkway West High School news site. And now to talk about Elizabeth and her work is her incredible journalism teacher, Parkway West High's own Miss Lindsay Katz.
Thank you. Elizabeth is a truth seeker. As a journalist, she relentlessly pursues the true story. And at the heart, she pursues the story of humans who walk the hallways of Parkway West, who reside in our community, and who live in our world. Elizabeth's fearlessness in exercising her right to free speech inspires our entire journalism room. She courageously tackles subjects that others might shy away from, displaying a genuine commitment to truth and transparency. Her writing is characterized by honesty and a distinctive voice throughout each piece that she creates. In the future, Elizabeth plans to become a civil rights lawyer. Elizabeth is truly an inspiration to scholastic journalism, and we are thrilled that her dedication is being celebrated as Missouri Student Journalist of the Year.
And that's Mom. Next, please welcome Tiffany McBride, Choice Programs Counselor, to introduce us to Parkway's Early College Partnership students.
Good evening, President Todd. Good evening, Vice President Hopper, members of the Board of Education, Dr. Marty, and Mrs. Stover. It is my pleasure to introduce our early college program students tonight. Our early college program is a program where our students have the opportunity to participate in college and attend St. Louis Community College while they're working on their high school diploma and graduation requirements. During the past 2 years, these students have assessed college courses taught by professors on the campus of St. Louis Community College at both Merrimack and Wildwood campuses. The majority of these students will leave high school having earned an associate's degree in arts as well as their high school diploma. These students have had the opportunity to accelerate their learning in their field of interest, gain a sense of belonging in higher education, and earn early college credit while making higher education attainable and affordable. We are incredibly proud of their successes. So at this time, I would like to introduce the early college program class of 2024 seniors. From Central High School, Shanisha Allen. Martha Kamal. David Miller. Judah Sloan. From North High, Dashika Nath. Radistina DeSova. Kylie Lagerse. Generique, who we affectionately call Gail Nuestro. Priya Shanathi. From South High, Heather Kenyon. Ella Tebe. Mia Jaklovic. Fiza Awahi. And lastly, from West High, Emma Herman. Ashley Lewinsky. Lucas Oswald. Sela Peters. And Ryan Smith. They're all very, very busy finishing up their finals. So congratulations and best wishes on a successful future, and we are incredibly proud of you all. Thank you.
Next, please welcome Dr. Erin Schulte, Coordinator of Counseling and Character Education, and Dr. Christine Davis from the St. Louis Community College.
Good evening, everyone. This year, Parkway had the privilege of working with St. Louis Community College to honor 5 of our students with scholarships for next school year. I'd like to introduce Dr. Christine Davis from St. Louis Community College to recognize each of these well-deserving students.
Thank you. Good evening. It is my pleasure to be here on behalf of Dr. Jeff Pittman, our chancellor, to present these scholarships to these students. Each of these students will receive a $1,000 scholarship to attend St. Louis Community College. So if you are here when I call your name, please come forward. From Central High, Marco Randazzo. Nick Rogers. From North High, Camilla Manidova. Trenton Watkins. And from South High, Sydney Bax. Congratulations to all of the students, and we look forward to seeing you all on campus this fall. Thank you.
Next, please welcome John Duvall, Middle School Interdisciplinary Coordinator, ELA, Social Studies and Reading.
Good evening, Dr. Marty and members of the board. I have the pleasure of introducing Parkway students who were recognized as Gold Key winners of the Missouri Scholastic Arts and Writing Contest, the longest running and most prestigious program for creative arts and writing. The jurors selected these students' work based on the award's core values of originality, how their work challenged conventions and blurred boundaries, skill, how their work used technique to advance an original perspective, and the emergence of a personal voice, how their work expressed an authentic perspective. Moreover, the jurors selected the winners without identifying information, including the student's age. Middle and high school students were competing amongst each other on a level playing field. Students, when you hear your name, if you would come up and shake the hands of Dr. Marty and the members of the board. From West Middle, Gunnar Holmes, Naomi Pearson, and Bristol Sparks. From Central High, Nathan Arst, Tarini Carnati, Hannah Matthew, and Matthew Whaling. And from West High, Elizabeth Franklin. Elizabeth won 2 Gold Key Awards. Serena Liu. And finally, Fareen Rahman, who also won 2 Gold Key Awards. Congratulations to these amazing Parkway students. We're very proud.
Next, I would like to invite Dr. Marty to the podium.
Well, first of all, students, congratulations. This is always a special time of the year, and we're so glad you were able to come tonight. And parents, I'm going to steal the thunder from Jeff Dodd here. He would probably do this, but we're very, very proud of you, and thanks for supporting your children and coming here tonight. Best wishes to all of you, especially you graduating seniors. So thank you very, very much. Patty Bedbarrow, would you join me at the podium? A lot of you know and have respected Patty as our CFO for the last 10 years. She is retiring here in a couple weeks, couple days, but she had the distinct honor of being selected as the Missouri Business Official of the Year. And I had the pleasure of being at the conference, Missouri Business Officials, a couple of weeks ago, and it was a great honor. But I don't think Patty realizes that we have a special guest here tonight who's going to speak more about Patty. Kim Cranston, would you come forward? Kim is the executive director of the Missouri Business Officials Association, and Kim is a special friend of ours. She was a former chief communications officer in Rockwood and now has assumed this role for the last many years and has just done a wonderful job, and I know Patty and her are friends, and we want this to be a surprise, Patty. And Kim was gracious enough to be here tonight. So it's my pleasure to introduce a real friend of Parkway, a real friend of education, Kim Cranston. Kim?
Dr. Marty, thank you, members of the board, honored guests. Anytime you are recognized for your service and contributions by your peers, it is one of the highest honors anyone can receive. As Dr. Marty said a few weeks ago at our state conference, we named our Business Official of the Year. This peer recognition is the top honor our association gives out. The criteria is for a person who has demonstrated outstanding service to her school district, community, state, and our profession. I know you are aware of the achievements and accomplishments of this wonderful woman and what she's done as your CFO. You may not be aware of her service to students and other professionals across the state and the country. When Patty was a part of MOASBO, which she still is as a member, she served on a number of committees. She served as a regional facilitator. She served on our board as president. And then she was also recognized at the national level by ASBO for her service as an Eagle Award recipient. When people talk about Patty, here are some of the words they use to describe her: leader, professional, someone who serves and cares for others, a role model. Patty is the best of the best. She exemplifies what every one of us aspire to be in this profession. It is my incredible honor to recognize Patty Bedborough, MOASBO's 2024 Business Official of the Year. Oh, yes.
I am certainly humbled and greatly appreciative of this honor. Certainly, everything we do is for the kids. So even the financial officer of the district builds the budget essentially to provide what is needed to meet the needs of our kids. So know that you are important and you matter. And we know that we are good stewards of our community's money and financing, so we take that job very seriously. Thank you very much.
As Patty's receiving her well-deserved recognition, I also want to take this opportunity to talk about someone who Patty knows very well, Nikki Otten. She was recognized as MOASBO's emerging leader. She's one of our rising stars. So when you think about that department and those two people in there, you guys should be very, very proud of their work. And again, thank you so much for allowing me to be here this evening.
Again, thank you so much to all of our students and your families for being here to honor and celebrate you tonight, and as well as our employees. So thank you all very much. Right now, we're going to take a brief break, and we'll resume the meeting shortly.
So, one thing,
Hi, and congratulations. I saw Matthew. I haven't seen him in a while.
I know. I didn't realize you were at the.
Check, check.
I don't have a gavel. What if I needed a gavel? Where is it? What? People better be in line. You better stay in line. No. No, because Kevin's going to want to use it. Okay. We are, I think we cleared out of some people that don't probably want to stay for the entire meeting, but we thank you for those of you that are still here. So we will continue onward. Right now, I will list our additions, corrections, and/or modifications to the agenda tonight. Those include 7.01, addition of agenda item 11.50, approval of extension for Kelly Education staffing rates. 7.02, addition of agenda item 11.51, approval of purchase science resources 2024. And 7.03, addendum to agenda item 11.17, approval of personnel items. Next up is public comment time. So it's during this time that we provide an opportunity for citizen comments in an effort to maintain an open and respectful dialogue with our community. The public comment session is not the appropriate forum for addressing individually identifiable student and/or personnel matters. Therefore, due to privacy laws protecting students and employees, comments about these matters should not include personally identifiable information about particular students or employees. Members of the public, staff, and students are encouraged to utilize established policies and procedures for offering suggestions or addressing concerns and complaints prior to bringing the issue before the board. Please be mindful that the meetings of the board are broadcast and you are responsible for any public comments you make. In lieu of a public statement, you may choose to submit your comments to the board in writing. Also, due to the time constraints and the need to complete the primary responsibilities of our meeting agenda, we cannot respond during the meeting, so you will receive a response from us in writing. We are always available to have an open dialogue outside of our meetings and can be reached by email or phone using the contact information on the Parkway website. I will call on speakers in order that they signed up, and before you speak, I would just ask you to reintroduce yourself and state your relationship or affiliation to or with Parkway. Right now, I believe we have 9 speakers, and I will do my best to pronounce your name properly, and I apologize in advance if I don't. I'll call several names at a time so you know when your time is coming up, except for our first person, who is Juan Rodriguez. He'll be followed by Angela Castro and Alyssa Cho. And I think I failed to mention that each speaker will have 3 minutes, and ask you to just hold your applause until all the speakers have spoken. Take it away, Juan.
YFU student from Spain. First of all, I want to thank the School Board of Education for supporting the YFU Students Program, and thank you to, I don't know who he is, Mr. McCabe, for making West the best high school and the best American experience for the YFU students. And also thank you for giving us the opportunity to have amazing classes such as scuba. I love scuba. I don't have that back home in Spain. And I think it's a really fun class to do. You work with other people, and I think it's a very useful skill to have. I also want to say thank you to Coach John and Coach Witt for giving me the opportunity to be part of their team, of their family, and for being so nice since the first day of practice. And also to Coach Witt for making the best cookies in the world. And the last thing I want to say is thank you to my host family. They are awesome. They are my second family right now. And they have given me the best opportunity of my life and the best year of my life. And thank you for all the hosting families here. They are doing a great job, so thank you very much.
Next up is Angela Castro.
Good evening, I'm Angela Castro, and I'm here as a resident of the Parkway South area. I'm speaking tonight as a resident of the Wren Hollow, Southwest Middle, and South High attendance area. There is a group within this area that have become very vocal against a new early childhood center. I'd like to stress that they are the loudest and not the majority. I am here as a proponent of the new center. I've had children and grandchildren go through all the schools in this attendance area. In the 36 years I have lived here, I have once, I repeat, once been on the field in question. That one time was to view the eclipse in 2017. I have never seen anyone using that field. As a matter of fact, when I recently came to pick up a child at the middle school, I have witnessed students using the blacktop and the street area for outdoor activities. Many people know the value in early childhood education. A new center will bring an opportunity for more children to have the best start in school. There will be new areas for residents to use, just like they can access any other Parkway property. This new center will increase property values and enhance the look of the field. I urge you to consider moving forward with the new early childhood center. Thank you for your consideration.
Next up is Allison. Just ask everybody to refrain from the applause until we're finished with all the speakers. Thank you.
Now that I have 3 minutes, I'll state my name. So my name is Alyssa Cho, and I'm a resident in Parkway, live in Chesterfield. I have a child at the Early Childhood Center as well as a child at Claymont Elementary. I'm also the president of the PTO at Claymont. But I'm here today because when people find out that we moved here from Hawaii, they're shocked. It's really hard for people to understand why we would leave our dream jobs in Hawaii to move to West County. However, when we got a rare disease diagnosis for my daughter at age 2.5, our priorities quickly shifted, and our number one priority was really to get her early intervention and high-quality public education. We moved here for the community, and we also moved here for our kids. We've been at the Parkway Early Childhood Center for the past 5 school years. According to the CDC, high-quality early intervention can change the developmental trajectory of a child and improve outcomes for children, families, and communities. For our family, receiving early intervention for our daughter in the areas of speech, gross motor, fine motor, and adaptive communication, in addition to the high-quality early education curriculum, resulted in significant developmental gains, and that was including COVID, ultimately resulting in her placement in a gen ed setting at kindergarten, still receiving services from special school district. A key outcome of her early intervention through ECC was her development of verbal language. When she entered ECC, she had no words, and when she left, she was intelligible to both her teachers and her peers. For both of my children, the play-based setting and outdoor learning has expanded their curiosity about their world, improved their capacity to problem solve, and encouraged independence. At the same time, they've developed their gross and fine motor skills, they've gained pre-academic skills, they've learned to ask questions, they've formed meaningful relationships, and they've had fun and probably gotten too messy for most of the teachers' liking. Specifically, as a parent of a child with a disability, I can say that what's been most impactful for our family has been the inclusive environment in which our children are encouraged to embrace differences and treat everyone with kindness and respect. These values have persisted into elementary school and beyond, creating community members that are steeped in inclusion and empathy. Every child should be offered the opportunity to learn and develop in a high-quality early education setting. This is an investment in our future community members who will carry forward the core values of caring for themselves, caring for each other, and the world around them. Thank you.
Next up is Melissa Helwig. She'll be followed by Alan Bathke and Jen Roper.
Thank you, Dr. Marty. Thank you, the board. I'm Melissa Helwig, and I'm the principal at Barrett's Elementary in the South area. I house 3 preschool classrooms at Barrett's. One is a gen ed classroom, 2 are special education, and I see our preschool teachers working skillfully to support young students who came in with significant developmental delays. The progress these students make during the early years is astounding. While we do our best to accommodate, there are many challenges to having students spread out among all the elementary schools. Some of that, including in my own building, is that I can't always have them close access to restrooms, to a nurse, to the playground, especially when we have significant needs of some of those children. Lack of staff support at sites. When we only have our teachers at our building, and while we have great preschool administrators, it's hard as they are moving around the entire district to try to get around to teachers, support them in the way that they deserve. There's limited class type choices to meet student and family needs, as well as lack of teacher collaboration. If you work in a school like we do, it is essential to be able to work with teachers who do the same thing you do and be able to talk through things and be together day to day. And that doesn't happen for our preschool teachers. We are thrilled to see that the community voted in favor of the Early Childhood Center on Proposition S. Moving the preschool classes to a center designed for preschool students would not only better serve the preschool students and families, but also the Barrett's community. I am currently growing in capacity. I have been one of the smallest schools in the district for quite a while. We are projected to continue growing, and I can tell you that currently I'm running out of space for classrooms. We love having the preschool students with us. They bring a joy, the teachers are a joy, but space is becoming an issue. And as we are projected to continue growing over the next 5 years, this is something that we are trying to think about for not only our Barrett's families, but our preschool families. Investing in early childhood is one of the wisest investments we can make as a district to ensure our students are given a strong foundation for success. High quality early education should be one of our top priorities here in Parkway. I am so excited, and I think it's one of the greatest places to be is in Parkway and what we offer. And I say that as someone who worked in multiple districts. My kids are in a different district, and what we have here is so amazing and what we can offer. And this preschool is only going to enhance that opportunity for all the South area students. I hope that we continue to bravely put the needs of our young students and families first. From an equity standpoint, reducing the opportunity gap to accessing quality early intervention and education is how we prevent achievement gaps from occurring in the first place. I thank you for bravely advocating for our youngest learners, and I hope you will still consider in moving forward with this project.
Thank you. Next up is Alan Bathke.
Good evening. My name's Al Betke. My wife and I have lived a few blocks from Wren Hollow School for 32 plus years already. 4 children have graduated from Parkway South High School. I have a granddaughter graduating from Parkway South this year. And in the interest of full disclosure, my wife used to work for Parkway and my daughter currently does. So love the group. I am here tonight to express my full support for the Early Childhood Center that's being proposed to be built at that site between Wren and Southwest. I heard the opposition, and over the past, I've seen the signs in my neighborhood. Quite frankly, they caused me to do some research for myself of the facts, the concerns, solutions that have been offered by the district and community representatives. And although I do expect some additional traffic and stuff like that, I feel that the traffic concerns are largely overstated. I've dealt with the congestion around front of South High and Hannah Woods and all that kind of stuff for years. It's during the arrival times and departure times. They're very predictable. I know when they're going to be. It's a minor inconvenience. You leave a couple minutes early and you deal with it. It's just I just don't understand the concern that's being expressed. That said, I would also like to say I do agree entirely with the recent things the city of Manchester did to make the zone around Wren Hollow a school zone. I think that's a great proactive step. Yeah, the second thing I want to mention, I've also heard there's complaints about the loss of green space. Again, I honestly don't really understand. I walk evenings and weekends in that area all the time. And although I see the parking lot and the play area at Wren constantly being used after school and the weekends by locals, I never, I would say rarely, maybe once or twice, I just never see anything in that space, that green space that people are complaining about going on there. And I would think if during the school days, when I'm not necessarily around, if that space is being used in those places, I would expect that the Wren and Southwest teachers would be putting up the biggest arguments, and I don't hear any of that. So in short, I feel very strongly that it's important as a community to invest in our young families and their children. I was, as a taxpayer and a Manchester resident, I asked the board not to let the loud voices of a few overshadow the greater community need of the many voices that support this project. I was disappointed when I heard that this might even be delayed a year, or would be. I'm not on it, but in my professional experience that I won't really go into, delays like that will only do 2 things. In this environment, they will only increase costs, and we won't get the benefit as soon as we could. So thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Next up is Jennifer Roper. She'll be followed by Carrie Blumenfeld and Jean Manning.
Good evening. My name is Jen Roper. I'm a special education coordinator at Parkway Early Childhood, and I'm proud to support the provision of special education services for our youngest learners. We currently have special education classrooms spread over 4 elementary schools in the south area of Parkway. Classrooms in 3 out of the 4 buildings are isolated and have no other special education colleagues with whom to collaborate or from whom they can receive support. If a student is struggling and the team needs assistance, there are no early childhood special education colleagues around. That isolation is challenging for our teams, which is why we were so thrilled and excited when the bond issue passed in 2022, with the idea that we would be able to create a South Center, where teachers would have support and collaboration right next door. Our therapists who travel to many sites would be more present daily to collaborate with classroom teams on student strengths, strategies, and progress. They would also be available for families and more face-to-face conversations. Special ed and regular ed classrooms can plan intentional time together weekly, benefiting all students.
The South Center would be a long-desired dream come true for our special education teams in the South area. And I can't express enough my gratitude to the Parkway community for voting to support the bond issue and providing our students an opportunity to experience a true preschool filled with expansive nature learning, play areas designed with their unique needs in mind, and an increase in interactions with same-aged peers. A South Center is necessary for our families, students, and the professionals who teach them. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Carrie Blumenfeld.
Hello, my name is Carrie Blumenfeld, and I am the parent of a current early childhood center preschooler, as well as a proud Parkway alum. In truth, I wasn't initially successful in securing a spot in the early childhood lottery last year. We were thankfully able to take advantage of a last-minute opening at one of the satellite locations right before the school year began. My daughter completed her first year of preschool at that satellite location, and then I was able to secure a spot for her at the main center this year. She has had a wonderful experience and has benefited from these 2 years of Parkway Preschool. But there has been an understandably no comparison in the amount of additional community and resources that are simply more available at a main center. Friends of mine have not been as lucky to secure spots for their children, which tells us that clearly early childhood is providing a very needed and desired quality education that more parents want access to than there are spots to fill. While it's a good thing to have a quality program in demand, I'm sure we can all agree that we want more families to be able to benefit from this. So when I voted in approval for this additional center, I did so with purpose. I want more families to have access to the Parkway Preschool program, and I was in the majority, as 77% of our community voted in favor of this facility. So many families want the program to grow, and their voices were heard with their vote. Certainly concerns have been raised, and our leadership has listened. I'm confident that all the concerns can be addressed and not at the expense of having this site exist or with more significant delays to building this site. Our community of voters have spoken, and the site is needed to serve more families. I also think it's important that our community knows that their votes matter. Since our community spoke so loudly in a majority of this facility, I think we have an obligation to make sure that it is the best facility that it can be. I feel that it's important that those voicing concerns do so with accuracy, as false claims merely spike unnecessary alarm and distract people from solving the real issues. I believe the Parkway administration and the Parkway Board of Education are committed to ensuring traffic safety and green spaces are upheld at this location, and I thank them for their time and their commitment to our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Jean Manning, followed by Lisa Moldavsky.
Good evening. My name is Jean Manning, and I am a former director of early childhood in Parkway. I was also the preschool coordinator and worked in Parkway for 16 years. I've also been a resident of Parkway for the past 39 years, and one of my sons graduated from one of the Parkway high schools. I'm here tonight to state my continued support of the early childhood programs and the new Early Childhood Center in the South District. It's been proven in many studies that students that attend quality early childhood programs, and we know Parkway is one of those quality early childhood programs, are better prepared for school. Quality programs show clear positive effects on children's early literacy and math skills, as well as social, emotional, and cognitive development. A priority of identifying children with special needs allows children to receive services, as we've heard from parents, and this is at a time when their brains are the most receptive to intervention. The expansion of the early childhood programs by building an additional center at Southwest Middle in that space between Southwest Middle and Wren Hollow was discussed over the years since 1999 when I began working in Parkway School District. So that was always a site that was really looked at as a perfect place for a center in the south area of the district. I was happy to see that the bond issue passed and that an additional center would finally come to fruition. I support the building of the center in the designated area, and I'm really excited to see the expansion of preschool and other early childhood programs in the district. Thank you for your continued support of early childhood programs.
Next up is our last speaker, possibly my favorite early childhood educator, because she was my kids' parents' teacher. Lisa Moldavsky.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Lisa Moldavsky, and I serve as the coordinator of our Parents as Teachers program. I have been lucky enough to serve on the Early Learning Steering Committees since 2013 that have been studying the issues that we have in serving our families. The results of these studies continue to prove the need for site consolidation and expansion over and over again. Our current data showing the need with student projections out to the year 2030. Preschool and childcare are a hot topic in PAT. Our parent educators are fielding questions on how to get in, where they can get in, how the lottery works. Our parent educators are taking those calls when families don't get a spot. They're taking those calls when parents call them and tell them they can no longer return to the child care center that they were receiving services. In our current Project Parkway work, one of the strategies is to implement a comprehensive plan to reduce disparities and opportunities. With the known research on how early experiences impact brain development and future school success, we have to take a serious look at the lack of opportunities we have in early learning in Parkway. We have the plan to improve these opportunities, and we have the support of 77% of our voters. As we pause to investigate the solutions that our community members, the concerns of our community members, I ask that we not lose focus on what we need for our families and our young children. We need an all-encompassing early learning center where parents can access the supports and services they may need, whether they be half-day preschool, full-day childcare, special education services, developmental screenings, parent-child interaction classes, or PAT family connections. At this time, 3 of our programs are only at one site on Clayton Road, and we have to serve the entire district at that site. Rockwood, our neighboring district, which has a similar size, is serving their families with 3 early childhood centers at this time. We are behind. Please make the South Area Center a priority so we can begin to give our youngest learners and their families equitable opportunities to receive support and high-quality early education experiences. Don't let us lose momentum on this project. Thank you.
Thank you. And I don't know if we had a technical glitch or not, but we had one speaker that was inadvertently skipped. Maggie, are you? Yep, there you are. If you could just let us know your name and whereabouts you live in the district.
Sure. Thank you. My name is Maggie Velliser, and I have had the privilege of being a Parkway preschool teacher for 16 years. So I'm a staff member in Parkway. In my classroom, which is housed at Oak Brook Elementary, we are the only preschool classroom. We serve an integrated classroom with students comprised of general and special education. Our children often require intervention in occupational or physical therapy, speech and language, or the support of a behavior interventionist or counselor. However, these professionals are not always available when needed, as they spend a good portion of the day driving around to different sites to see children and deliver services. Teacher collaboration and coordination with related service providers is incredibly challenging in our current arrangement. In addition, families in our area are limited to one half-day blended class type that may not meet the needs of their child. I have also served on our Parkway Early Learning Steering Committee alongside our families, community members, and staff to develop our strategic plans. We have been advocating diligently to try to increase equal access to high-quality early education opportunities for our families and students. It has been incredibly disheartening to see the opposition to our new building when it was overwhelmingly approved by the voters and has been needed in our portion of the district for a very long time. We owe it to our community to make the Parkway Early Childhood South Center happen. The new building has my enthusiastic support, and I hope it has your support as well as our school board. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you again to all of our speakers tonight. We really appreciate it. If you'd like to give yourselves a round of applause, that'd be fine. Okay, next is the approval of our agenda for this evening. So may I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda for the regular meeting of the Board of Education as scheduled for May 15th, 2024?
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. I'll also mention that Ms. Hopper had a family commitment tonight and couldn't join us, but my guess is she'll be watching at some point, either live later or recorded later. The next regular scheduled board meeting will take place on Wednesday, June 12th, 2024, beginning 7 p.m. right here at the Parkway Welcome Center. Next, we'll move on to board and superintendent reports. So, Matt, if you want to start us off.
Yes, thank you to everyone who came out tonight and presented and made their comments known. We do appreciate you taking the time out of your evening to be here. I'll share two things. My first one's going to be Patty Bedborough. Just the fact that, just going through an election, I never got an email question about the budget, about our savings. We didn't get a question during the forum about our budget or our savings. And just the fact that we are in that good a financial state on an annual budget basis and on our annual fund for savings. So just a small note that it benefits us as board members running to not have that budget issue be a factor, and how much of that actually benefits the whole district by being in a good financial place. So thank you. And then on another thing, just it is one of my favorite new events at the end of the year in Parkway. It's the second year. Dr. Bogus was there, Dr. Marty, Mr. Todd. It is the Future Educator Signing Event. This is the second year held in this room. It is just joyful, brings tears to your eyes. Just the fact that these students are going to commit to become teachers. We recognize that. They come here, they pick out a teacher in Parkway that's actually impacted them. The teacher comes, they read the comments about the teacher gets teary, the parents are in the room, they're getting teary. It is just a uplifting, positive recruitment, retention event for all teachers out there. And it was actually special for me too because I knew two of the students and the families in the room. So just a great event. And I look forward to graduations this weekend.
Yes, thank you again as well to all the speakers. We are always listening and we really appreciate your feedback. It's been a busy month. Few things that have happened at the Parkway Art Show. Went with my family. Truly, it could have been there for hours. It is truly amazing to see the artists that we have in this district. Many of us attended the Parkway Appreciation Evening, where we honored the Teachers of the Year, Pillars of Parkway, Light of Parkway. Another great evening. Went to my daughter's orchestra performance with 4th and 5th grade and participated in the Green Trails Trivia Night. But one thing I wanted to say is recently we had our Teacher Appreciation Week. Everyone did. And as many know, we recently changed our reading intervention and how that's screened. And I can say that as a parent of my youngest daughter who was picked up, I really appreciate her interventionist. She is now being able to read on grade level. It's working what has started. It truly is amazing what these new programs, the screening has done. And I can't say how proud I am of my daughter, but also how proud I am of her reading interventionist. It truly is amazing what can be done. And just to all the teachers, it's just thank you.
This will be the last regular board meeting before the end of the academic year. And of course, this puts me in a position where I feel like being reflective. Another year has passed by. And, you know, being around this evening, seeing all the children and folks who were honored earlier, just as we have many, many honored at other board meetings, is just an exciting reminder of all the great things going on in Parkway. You know, I feel like a school district is a microcosm of you know, the society at large. And, you know, through my kids' eyes, I've seen them experience through their peers fantastic moments of accomplishment and also tremendous sorrow, loss of friends, loss of a parent. And I just think that in Parkway, from what I've observed in different roles as a parent or board member, I really feel like it's a group of people, whether it be teachers, staff, students, that are just all largely pulling in the same direction, caring for one another with one another's backs. And seeing that is just fantastic and reminds me every day why I feel so lucky to have my kids going to this school district and how lucky I feel to get to serve with folks like this in the board and all the staff and teachers in the district. So here we are at the end of the academic year, and I wanted to give that sort of report on my views.
Good evening. Thank you all for speaking today. I love hearing from our foreign exchange students. That's the right word, right? Yeah. So I'm glad you enjoyed West, and I really love hearing all of the wonderful things about that program. So yeah, this month is only 2 weeks in, but it's been a busy month. At the beginning of the month, the day after the teacher signing, we had our LEAD Parkway graduation ceremony for about 10 students from our Parkway school district. It was held here, and prior to the ceremony, they actually had an opportunity to talk to us as leaders of the diversity, inclusion, and equity groups. And they did an amazing job. These are students that were teaching adults about how we can do better, how we can open our eyes to a different experience. And I really enjoyed it. And I know this was our inaugural year, and I am looking forward to seeing how this program continues to progress. In addition to that, last week was Teachers Appreciation Week, and I honestly believe that it's really important for us to collectively recognize and honor our teachers. You all do so much for our children every day. In many ways, you are like second parents to many of our students, many of our children. And I appreciate all of the things that you guys have done in my children's lives and in my life as well. So I want to thank you again in public just for all that you do. I too am looking forward to graduation. I got one out and 2 more to go. So I'm excited about this graduation season. It's going to be a busy month before the end of the school year, and I just can't believe that May has gotten this far already, and we'll be out of school in about 2 weeks. So have a great summer.
Thank you. Jeff pointed out his children's parents as teacher, and so I want to point out mine. This shouldn't be seen as an endorsement either way on the Early Childhood Center, but Angela was the parents as teacher for my children, and that was kind of my first exposure to Parkway as an adult, and she was wonderful with my kids and kind of invigorated a new enthusiasm in our family for Parkway, which kind of resulted in me being up here. So if anyone's sick of my presence on the board, Angela, so you should talk to after the meeting. But always good to see you. Juan, thank you for being here. There's another Kevin Parkway story. When I first was elected, one of the first meetings I went to was, I guess, the May meeting, and Steve Rutherford, who was here earlier, but I guess has left. There were some speakers, and I talked to him afterwards about the YFU program and my interest in it. And then, like clockwork, every year he'd email me and say, is this the year you want a kid? And every time I'd call my wife and say, how you wanted to have more kids? What if it's like a 16-year-old Spanish boy? And that went over real well. But this was the year that we finally, we have a room. I essentially told my daughter, would you rather have a playroom or you want to have a big sister? And she chose big sister, so we're going to host a YFU student next year as well. We got to hold your applause to the end. But it's a wonderful program, and every kid I've ever met has been a lot like Juan, just great, respectful, good kids, and hopefully ours is the same. So we're looking forward to being a part of YFU as well, and I'm so glad to hear you had a good experience, and I hope our daughter echoes your sentiment of best. I don't know if I can do best year of her life, but we'll try.
Like my colleagues here, I attended a lot of events this month. I don't think anyone mentioned the board workshop. That was this month, I think, since the last meeting. Appreciation night, the art show. I also went to the step competition right after the board workshop. One of the great things Parkway does, is, I mean, we're good at a lot of stuff, but I think our step team might be the most celebrated of all of our activities in the district, and so it was really cool to go to that competition. And finally, about 2 weeks ago, my wife and I made our annual trip to sixth grade camp. Grateful for Parkway putting us up in the penthouse at Trout Lodge. It's just fun. We go for a day and spend a night out there, and just it's such a great program. And I just love seeing those kids out there. You know, it's something really different that Parkway does, and the kids really have a great time. And we always have a good time going there. And shout out to Will the horse. He was my horse on my little trail ride. So pass it over to Jeff. I used some of Debbie's time. Debbie's not here, so I figured I had to go long to.
I'm not sure, I'm never sure how to follow Debbie. Thankfully, I just have to follow Debbie. But speaking of sixth grade camp, I'm glad you mentioned that, because this afternoon, there was a retirement party for Steve Schmink, who has given just decades upon decades of service to sixth grade camp and that outdoor school program. I wasn't able to make it, but I know a lot of people did and celebrated his time, his service here in Parkway. So we thank him. Again, thank you to all the speakers. We really appreciate you taking the time to share your opinions, and we'll certainly respond to each and every one of you. So thank you. Since the last meeting, a couple of things that were mentioned already, but I'll just also echo my sentiments about the Future Educator Signing Night. Just a fantastic event, and not only did we have students that brought teachers with them or had a teacher come. Some of these teachers were like their fourth grade teacher. You know, they weren't just, you know, their favorite teacher from the last school year. They were teachers that really made an impact sometimes a long time ago. So that was impressive to me, and we couldn't have done it without Courtney Yeager, so she gets a shout out for all her work to put this together. We also had, we had PTO leadership end of the year meeting this past week. That was great. We've got some just fantastic PTO leaders in our schools that really make a difference in their school communities, and we're really appreciative of those individuals. Same night we had Granting Dreams. We had just dozens upon dozens of students that wrote applications for a grant. Some of them, you know, in kindergarten, first grade, elementary, all the way up, for something that they wanted to do that cost money, that was some kind of experience to further enrich their lives. And our Alumni Association awarded thousands upon thousands of dollars of scholarships to these kids. And their faces as they left the building were just priceless, you know, just so excited about that thing that they were going to get to do now because of this grant. So those are always great. This morning I attended the West High Honors Ceremony with Dr. Marty and Dr. Beckner and Dr. Holman Bess as well. But some of those kids were here tonight. But just amazing to see where a lot of our high school students are, you know, how they've achieved different things and where they're headed. I always enjoy hearing the few dozen or so that get recognized for different things and where they're headed to college. And it makes my time up the street at Maryville seem like, I just self-taught myself, and these kids are going to some amazing places. So it's very impressive. And then lastly, I'll mention that Debbie and I attended the Government Relations Committee meeting last week. We shared with Special School District and Pattonville. We got together with a bunch of our legislators and some actual legislators, some of their representatives. But it was good. It's always good. We do this several times a year where we get to talk about different things going on in the world of education and legislation that might affect Parkway. And there's always something. And then lastly, Debbie and I also attended Hindu Temple a couple of weeks ago, and Dr. Marty joined us as well. We were invited to Hindu Temple's Hindi language school for their second annual cultural event, and it was a fantastic event. These are kids that many of them are Parkway students, many of them are Rockwood students, but they're also students of a specific Hindi language school that happens there at the Hindu temple. And these kids, they go to school all day, and then on Friday nights, instead of going to parties or wherever, they go spend 2 hours learning more about the Hindi language. So it was a very impressive event, and it was greatly attended by their community and others who were guests as well. So, Dr. Marty.
Well, thank you. Board members, I want to thank you. Last week, as part of Teacher Appreciation Week, the board and my superintendent's action team, all of us wrote a brief descriptors of some of our favorite memories of our teachers, maybe teachers who impacted our children. I want you to know, board members, that our staff really appreciate that. I got a lot of comments back. You shared some of your personal stories, so thank you so much for being exposed a little bit about some of your feelings about teachers, and it was wonderful. Wonderful that you shared that and shared some great memories of your teachers and also the impact they're having on your own families. You've covered so many different things. I would just fill in a few things that I was able to attend. Today we had our Oasis, our volunteer, I want to say seniors, mainly our Oasis program of volunteers who come into our classrooms and help with literacy. But more importantly, our friending and mentoring our elementary children. We had a room full today, so we've recovered a little bit. During the pandemic, we lost a lot of volunteers. A lot of volunteers didn't want to come into our schools, but we've now recovered, and there was at least 40 to 45 volunteers today. We had luncheon and celebrated their work, all volunteers. And by the way, if any of you want to, you don't have to be a senior, but if you would like to do that, let us know. We can put you in touch with our coordinator, and we can certainly get you involved. It's a wonderful program. I had the opportunity a couple weeks ago to attend our Med Talks, our Spark pre-professional healthcare. The students, like TED Talks, give a talk about the medical experience they're having, and or something they observed. During the second semester, all of those students are in either St. Luke's or BJ Hospital West, and so it was wonderful. I was blown away by their topics, many of which I had no idea about. They had seen surgeries, they had seen things that were just wonderful to witness. Also on Monday morning this week, I had the opportunity to share with other superintendents. Jeff Pittman from St. Louis Community College hosted a breakfast recognizing the programs that he's hosting. Among them, you heard tonight about our early college program. And one of the things that we were honored in Parkway and other districts, how much money are we saving our children by involving ourselves with dual credit, dual enrollment, which that program is. And Parkway and our families are recipients of these. $559,000 this past year were saved by children enrolling in these programs, and saving money, they're earning college credit. So we were not first. Lindbergh, I think, was close to $2 million. So we have a little where to go, but I was very, very pleased. We've certainly grown that program, and it's a wonderful program. So among other things, we were recognized for that. I just got word that we're going to have just a little under 5,000 students involved in our summer school programs this year. Last week, Lisa Tomage and I had the pleasure to ride buses. Once a quarter, I try to ride buses. And it's always a pleasure. I think Elisa would agree that it's such a pleasure to see our bus drivers. They're educators. I mean, they're not teachers, but they are welcoming students onto the bus. They know the students, and it's always a pleasure to see our bus drivers relating and working on our behalf. We talked about the legislative meeting we had. Legislatures in their final hours, a lot of filibustering going on in the state Senate, which may be good. But we are, I think in a few minutes here, Patty Bedborough is going to talk about our budget and where we're at. Actually, the budget that is going to be going to the governor has actually quite a few positives. I'm not going to steal Patty's thunder, but we're grateful for the legislature in that regard. Some other legislation, not so much, but at least in the near future, we're going to be in good shape thanks to our legislators, and we need to be appreciative of all the things that come their way, and I think they're have shown their support to public education. I think I've covered things that you guys didn't cover, but again, thank you very much, and isn't it a wonderful night to have so much positive things in the room as it was tonight, and it's I'm grateful to all our educators and all our parents for their great support. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next up is the approval of our consent agenda. It's a pretty healthy one, and we've all had about almost the last week to review it and ask questions and learn lots of little details about it. So at this time, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented in the May 15th, 2024 board materials?
So moved.
Second?
Is there anything to be pulled to action or closed? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries 6-0.
Hopefully they're all leaving before we approve our consent
I
agenda.
know. Next up, we have no action items, we have no policy review. However, we do have a report. This is a report on our Parkway Food Pantry. So I'd like to call on Dr. Keith Marty to introduce that.
Thank you. A couple weeks ago, I received a packet of information that was just delightful to read, and decided that our public really needed to be reminded about the wonderful contribution of our Parkway Food Pantry. You know, the food pantry is really was developed over time by a lot of our Parkway social workers and volunteers, and I just want to salute a gentleman that's in the room who helped us develop a 501c3, Michael Burtz. Thank you so much for being part of that, but also others. But it seemed like the last year and a half or 2 years, the food pantry has just run so smoothly that we sometimes forget about it, and we should not forget about it. They serve so many families. I'm not going to steal the thunder of the report, but we're so grateful to the people that continue to lead this work and do so in such a dedicated manner and are so committed to this work and taking care of our families here in Parkway who have a need. And so it's my pleasure to, and by the way, Greg Matheson, who could not be here tonight, would say more. He had prepared messages. I'm kind of on the fly here, but I do want to just say that we've had the pleasure many times to volunteer, and we have to get back there. I've been negligent lately, but we're so proud of the work, again, of the food pantry personnel. So it's my pleasure to introduce Heather Davis, and Linda Gisatine, who are kind of the co-chairs, if I coordinate, do a lot of coordination of the food pantry. They put in endless hours, and so I'd like to call them up, and I think Diane Peterson, are you going to join them or not? Just the two of you for now? Okay. But Diane, we thank you. And then there's several other people out there that I'm sure are going to be recognized for their work. I know I don't want to steal the thunder of these two women, but Linda and Heather are just wonderful, and they're continually great work. And they do it quietly, but we don't want to forget the great work they're doing. So I was really happy to put them on this agenda so you can all hear as a community and a board the great work that they continue to do. So take it away, you two. Thank you so much.
Hello, friends. Thank you for this opportunity to present the annual report of the Parkway Pantry Partners. My name is Heather Davis, and I am the president of the Parkway Pantry Partners 501c3, and this is Linda Gisatine, the treasurer. We have shared with the board our annual report, a Parkway Food Pantry Responsibilities graphic, and the 2023 by the numbers report that should be displayed. There it is. That's it. We feel it's important to show the difference between what the partners organization does and what the district does to support the pantry. We should also highlight the vital student and family support that comes from amazing social workers led by Diane Peterson and Jess Bittner. Tonight, we are here to highlight our visually stunning annual report that was prepared by my amazing daughter, Mackenzie. Now, we could spend time reviewing each of the 31 pages. Instead, we want to show you our impact and share our story. Long ago, in 2017, Parkway social workers started the Parkway Food Pantry. It was a backpack program to meet the needs of many of the food insecure students they worked with. The program gave students enough food for the weekend. We started with 25 kids, and we quickly grew to 150. Due to the limited food supply, we had a wait list. And it became very apparent we would need more resources. So we held our first trivia night fundraiser. and it was a very time-intensive event, but we raised successfully $7,000.
Then, COVID hit and in-person school was suspended. A decision was made to forego the backpack program and switch to a monthly family aid box program. We were tasked with feeding upwards of 400 families. In addition to monthly food, we began to supply personal, baby, and feminine care items, as well as household cleaners and supplies. Do you remember what it was like trying to find toilet paper and cleaners back in those days? The district then went to the Parkway community and they raised a lot of money, but the expense of feeding close to 400 families was not sustainable. We were at a critical point in the pantry. How do we make this sustainable? How do we raise more funds and access enough food? How can we create more strategic partnerships? Part of that answer was to create a 501c3 so we could access funds and programs that the district could not. So we created the Parkway Pantry Partners. We consistently look for new best practices and efficiencies. When we first started the Family Box program, our dedicated social workers would radio in each family's order, but now we have incorporated a QR code that families scan to enter their own order, much like Chick-fil-A, right? And it was all because of Heather Davis and her amazing family had that vision and brought that system to life. Some families have food allergies and religious preferences that we try to support. All of this data tracks the numbers of families served, product quantities. These numbers are then used to analyze what is needed from food drives, for menu development, and for procurement. Each month, several social workers, the partners, and about 8 community volunteers distribute food to Parkway families and a growing number of Parkway employees. Distributions are held twice a month during the school year and once a month during the summer.
For those of you who have not seen an order being processed, here is an actual order from the May 7th distribution. I will not do it at the volume that I do it in the pantry. Family number 1 is a family of 8. No allergy. They ordered ground turkey, size 4 diapers, 3 T-girl pull-ups, overnight pull-ups, a supplemental pack of 3D girl pull-ups, baby wipes, 2 pad packs, 1 tampon pack, laundry detergent, dish soap and hand soap, bars of soap, male and female deodorant, adult and child paste, 2 adult and 5 kid brushes. In about 30 seconds, a box is pulled from the shelf, a cold bag with perishables is put together, and a dry bag with produce is assembled, and the personal care order is filled. It gets all carted up and delivered to the family's car. We do this until the distribution is over and it's time to clean up. Even when a car arrives late, say 30 minutes late, we stop what we're doing and we fill that order.
From an operational side, our success depends largely on 2 things. Our small team of 2 to 3 core volunteers, also known as the partner moms, and our strategic partners. Our partner moms coordinate all of our community volunteers, food drives, and manage the inventory of all of the inbound food. Our status as a 501c3 allows us to apply for food, funding, and care items that help us remain sustainable.
Last year, the volunteers gave 2,666 service hours. That is 1 full-time job. One reason our distributions are so successful is the community of volunteers the partners gather each month. They help to distribute food, pack boxes, sort donations, and do special projects like back-to-school kits. This happens because of a partner mom and volunteer coordinator, Lori Davidson, who compiles, monitors, and updates all of our monthly sign-ins. And a distribution can't happen if our shelves are empty. So the partners coordinate drives throughout the year. Last year we had 48 drives, and we collected 38,000 food items. Dana Carr-Lindsay is a partner mom and a food drive coordinator who organizes all of our food drives. She communicates with PTO and community leaders to facilitate all aspects of those drives. Once that drive is delivered to us, Kanessa Scholl, a partner mom and food room coordinator, takes over. All of those 38,000 items pass through her hands, and they are shelved in expiration date order. Kanessa also pulls food and for packing. She watches inventory and guides us with what food items need to be used and what items need to be on food drives.
I mentioned before the vital importance of our partnerships in our stability. We continuously look for partners, and just last week, we applied for more than $4,500 in grants from the Walmart Sparks Change program. Our largest grant to date came from the Bishop's Storehouse, an organization in the Church of the Latter-day Saints. They gave us a generous grant of $7,500 worth of shelf-stable food for our families. Our partnerships with local school communities are the lifeblood of our pantry. We count on school drives to fill our pantry with the majority of our shelf-stable items. We ask each school in the district to hold 2 drives for us each year. Some schools do a tremendous job, while others need a little bit more coaching. It is essential for us to meet the new group of PTO leaders, and we would love to be able to have just 5 minutes during the beginning of the first PTO leadership meeting each year to introduce them to the pantry and our needs.
Sometimes our partners come to us by chance. One evening, while at a neighborhood swim meet, people noticed my car was full of food and they asked about it. So I told them about the Parkway Food Pantry. Emily Littleton and the members of the Crossing Outreach Program have become one of our most valued partners. They have unfailingly supported us in distributions, in hosting food drives, picking up supplies, monetary donations to buy things like a new fridge, donating school supplies and backpacks to support 250 of our students. It is always a joy and a welcomed relief when the Crossing volunteers arrive. And Emily is our newest board member.
Another partnership that can only happen because of our 501c3 status is with the Girl Scouts. Every year they host their April Showers event and gather personal and baby care items. Last year, they asked us, as a new 501c3, if we would like to come and select needed items from their collection point. We gladly said yes, and we filled 3 SUVs with product. We didn't count how many items we collected last year, so this year, when they invited us back, we counted what they donated. The total was over 11,000 individual items, representing almost a year's worth of inventory for some products. And finally, last year, the partners paid $2,400 to become a Diaper Bank member agency. In return, we received close to 26,000 diapers and over 56,000 feminine care items. That is an outstanding partnership, and the return on the investment is vital to our families.
Tonight, we shared the 2023 by the numbers graphic and our reports because they tell the story of selfless partner moms, invaluable community partnerships, and a dedicated partners board that includes Pam Hill, our secretary, who's also a former Parkway School board member, Diane Peterson, the district's lead mental health specialist, Jess Bittner, a Parkway mental health specialist, and Emily Littleton, the Crossing Outreach admin. Daily operations of the pantry could not be done without the countless hours of work by our pantry moms, Lori Davidson, Dana Carr-Lindsay, Kanessa Scholl, and Emma Wagner. The partners report is full of more numbers to crunch and more data to analyze. But our story speaks to the great need inside the Parkway community. 38,000 food items, 25,000 diapers, 2,600 service hours tell the story of families that need our help. Our story might be different in 2024, and we hope to find a few more friends and partners along the way. But one thing we know for sure is that our small but mighty partners team, together with the Parkway School District, will continue to help our family face the challenges of food insecurity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I know from me, I can easily speak on behalf of the board with this. We certainly do appreciate all of the time and blood, sweat, and tears, because I know there've been all of them, of the two of you, of so many of the social workers who have invested so much of your time outside of the time you get paid by Parkway. I have been involved in a number of distributions all the way back to 2017, and it always impresses me how, even back then, how efficient it was. And I've been there since several times, and it keeps getting better. So I continue to be impressed with the work that you all do, and the way that you go about doing it. I do want to thank not just you, not just social workers, but so many volunteers. I know, I see it in church bulletins, I hear it in the community. This church volunteered, this group volunteered, these random people volunteered. And we're just so grateful that so many in our community want to lend a hand, donate food, donate money. And then you mentioned the schools. We hear about schools all the time that have competitions sometimes between grades or between schools, who can raise the most, number of cans of food and things like that. And it's just really impressive. I hear periodically when you need a fridge, what else can the district, can the board, what else can we do to help?
Well, really, I would like my own electrical panel. I hear it's impossible, but I would still like it. I don't want to share with the kitchen.
In other words, we would love to have another refrigerator and freezer. One of our strategic partners is with the food bank. So once a month, we get a load of pallets dropped off at Northeast Middle, where we are. And we never know what are going to be on that pallet. It could be cabbages. It could be frozen gelato in July. It could be canned food items. It could be dairy items. And we have to have some place to go with that. So more electrical is going to be essential for our needs. And then future support of the St. Louis Diaper Bank partnership will be a critical. The partners paid for it last year, and the district.
District has the contract now.
Yes, and so that will be vital.
Yeah.
To continue that.
We actually do have enough electrical, it's just not in the room I want it. But if we could put in a request to fix the AC. We would like the AC in the pantry to be fixed. We would like to have air conditioning.
Yeah.
Especially with the summer months coming on, we would like to have that.
And then access to the PTO leadership, to give us 5 minutes to introduce ourselves. That's how we started the Sign Up Genius, when we started asking every school to provide too. As we got before the PTO leadership, and we had the opportunity to introduce ourselves, and we had our Sign Up Genius right there, and we had PTO leaders coming over, and then we started brainstorming the different, cereal challenges and the breakfast bowls and the Super Bowls. And it's not just limited to schools. We have football teams that battle each other, West versus South, on who could collect breakfast items. It's sports teams. We have the swim club has come out and supported us. Church programs. Admin, I believe, was supposed to do a small drive for us this year. It didn't happen, but we'll catch you guys next year.
Henry and Claymont competed against each other for the first time this year. And it was a fun drive, and it was fun for the kids, and it produced a lot of food for the pantry. So that was a good one.
What do you see your challenges in the next 5 years?
Space. It would depend on our numbers grow. If, as Diane commented earlier today in the interview that she did, food has gone up 12%, and it's just getting harder and harder for families to make ends meet and to get everything that they need. We are still a little bit on the anonymous side. People don't know about us yet, and people aren't sure that Parkway has a food pantry. Hopefully, we're getting that word out there a little bit better now. But if we realize our true potential to help all of the families in Parkway that are struggling with food, and we have impressive numbers. It is a drop in the bucket, actually, when you look at the free and reduced lunch numbers and those families that we aren't helping. We have the potential to, unfortunately, grow in people that need us. We gave some tours over the last couple of days, and we are in the very enviable position of being stocked full of food. But there are no food drives in June. There are no food drives in July. There are no food drives in August. Maybe, possibly not in September. So the food that we see that is overflowing our shelves now has to go for 4 months. It's not going to last.
And I also think that exploring partnerships between, the pantry and the district itself, we always worry about the summer months when kids are not eligible for the free and reduced breakfasts. And we always try to bolster our boxes and give more items. We try to give out more lunch items. Giving out loaves of bread is a luxury that we were able to do during spring break, and our families just loved it. So any kind of strategic partnership that between Parkway and your lunch programs, how it can interact and work, maybe there could be a drop-off point, or maybe somehow we can partner to get our families more breakfast and lunches for those students, would be an amazing help for our families.
Yeah.
Can you just tell us a little bit about there was a story that you just made reference to, so let us all know what that was. It was a.
Which one?
The interview?
Yeah.
So News Channel 4 saw on your agenda that we were presenting our annual report, and they thought that was newsworthy.
So it was aired tonight.
It was aired tonight, yes, it was. And as always, Diane was beautifully spoken.
And so were you.
Oh, thank you.
I would just say that when you talk about space, you could always use more, but I think we need to thank Kevin Martin.
Kevin Martin's a huge supporter.
At the Northeast Middle.
Yeah.
He's given you some space, we could use more, but
Absolutely.
I think that's been a great partnership, and I know
Yeah.
he's been wonderfully cooperative, so.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
A little shout out for Kevin.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I'll just say, working for a nonprofit myself, cash donations are very important. How would one make a donation to the pantry?
On our Facebook page, we have our Venmo account. Can always be done by Venmo. You can always send checks to Northeast Middle School, care of the Parkway Pantry Partners. Those would probably be the two best ways.
Thank you so much. I
Thank
thought it
you.
was just a wonderful job, and again, thanks to the two of you. Thanks, Diane and Jess and all the group that was identified. And I think, I know Elisa Tomage is back there, who's, I think, probably taking some notes. We can do a better job in the district in terms of publicizing and being partners with you, and from a communication standpoint, but also another. So, and I will remind Michael Burtz, let's get him on the PTO agenda in September, right? Because I think that'd be worthy of doing that. So they'll have their kickoff meeting. And I think that's a great idea, because I think that's a good time of the year to get people excited about some potential activities.
Absolutely.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Get the AC working, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, next up, we have a work session. We get to enjoy the award-winning Patty Bedborough, and Dawn Trokey is joining her, so let's talk about the budget.
Good evening, President Todd, members of the Board of Education, Dr. Marty, and Mrs. Stover. We are very excited tonight to talk about the budget tonight. I also want to say this is my last presentation for the Board of Education, and it has truly been a pleasure to serve for the board and for our community as well. It has certainly been an amazing 10 years of my life. As we start all of our work, we start, of course, with our mission in mind, so we are definitely strategic related. As you know, we've been working this entire year and part of last year too on building our future strategic plan as well. So what is a strategic plan without resource and facility goals as well? So keeping all of that in mind, we have essentially built our budget. So we have a timeline. You guys are used to seeing this timeline. So in December, we start with we start in November with the building of the assumptions. We have December where we present to you our assumptions. During the time following that, we do our negotiations with whichever union group we're involved with. Our administrators are building their zero-based budgeting. Dawn and I then are keeping a close watch on revenues, trends, everything else. We're compiling the data, we're changing the data up until probably, we made a spreadsheet change yesterday and updated based on new information so that we can be ready to present the summary of the preliminary budget to you tonight. And then the next several weeks, we're going to be building that budget book that is also an award-winning budget book. So it's all about putting the pieces of the puzzle together. It takes many. It's not just the work of Dawn and myself. It is truly the work of all of our administrators. As you know, our largest expenditure is salary and benefits. So it's crucial that Dr. Bogus and I and our departments work together to get the FTE, the salary amounts right, our calculation for benefits, et cetera, because that is majority of our budget. So our great news that we can tell is where we are in our fund balances. So the blue bars on here show our revenue income for the last several years and then into our future years as predicted. Our red bars show our expenditures of our operating funds, and then the green line shows the trajectory of our fund balances. So as we know, during the Great Recession, we started with a massive decline, fast and furious, of our fund balances. And since that time, we have been proactively building up our fund balance. Our trajectory upward in the last several years certainly have been benefited from the increase in personal property values, our new construction there. We actually have that thing called interest income, which is wonderful. So it went from almost zero as a revenue line to now in the millions as well. And the great news with that is we finally, since fiscal year 21, we finally have year-round cash. So we are able now to invest for further periods out as well. Mixed in all of that too is our state revenue for transportation. When it was first given to us, it was allocated and stated to us as a 1 year only. So as Dr. Marty shared with the budget proceedings with our state legislature, they have removed the 1 year only language from that allocation. So we'll go through a little bit deeper dive into our revenue. One of the things we really would like to celebrate is in St. Louis County, we now officially have the lowest residential rate for our homeowners. In the past several years, we've been number 3, sometimes number 4. And for our 2023 tax levy, ours of 3.2883 for the residential rate was the lowest in St. Louis County. Remember too, when we levied taxes, we increased our voluntary rollback. When we were going into COVID, we were also hit with the financial institution tax that had dipped severely, and not knowing our funding sources and how that would all work with going into COVID, we took part of that voluntary rollback and included that in our regular tax rates. Now, as our property values, especially with personal property, has grown, we've reset that voluntary rollback back to pre-pandemic levels as well. So it's about a value of $8.7 million that remains just in a voluntary rollback. Breakdown of our operating revenues for this upcoming year. As you know, majority of our revenue is from local sources. Just over 5% comes from state, and federal is much lower at a 2.09%. To further break down the local breakout, majority of that, of course, is from property taxes, then of course from Prop C, which is the 1% statewide sales tax that's then allocated back to us based on our weighted average daily attendance of the prior year. And then to further break down, we have early childhood tuition, we have food service revenues, we have student activities, M&M, financial institution tax, and then we also have our tuition from our voluntary transfer program as well. So our largest source of revenue is from taxes, so we do spend quite a bit of time with you to explain our different components and what do we foresee in the future for our tax revenues. So everything that goes through that funnel then essentially goes into our calculator, and we obtain what will be those future revenues. Our assessed valuation, as we know, our property values, especially our residential values, have grown significantly in the last few years. Our commercial properties, while they have grown from the reassessment, we know that we had $52 million that were paid under protest. So it'll be a while before all of those are settled. The good news is that we just received the cash for that the other day. So kudos to Webster Grove School District that always files the friendly lawsuit for all the taxing authorities to receive that cash. But I do believe that Dawn and I, and then Carrie Nunn, our new CFO, we will be doing a huddle to look at how much we should reserve for future settlements of those property taxes too, especially with that large protest amount that was filed. That is double the amount that was filed under protest last year. Other components is our collection rate, so certainly the amount that we're paying back from the settlement of previous protested taxes plays into that collection rate. So the more we settle, the lower that collection rate is. This year, we're forecasting a 95%. In the current year, a 95% collection rate. That's due in major part to the large amount of money that was paid under protest. In our future years, we are eventually going to get back up to our 96.2%. So not a lot of big traction there. CPI for this upcoming year, based on the state tax commission, will be 3.4%, but of course this is a non-reassessment year, so we won't have a lot of property growth that's other than construction. So our rule of thumb is to use a 0.5% increase in non-reassessment years. The following year, we're looking at a 2.5% CPI, so Consumer Price Index. In our other component that makes an impact to our tax rates, of course, is our new construction. So the large green bar on there shows the growth from our personal property tax, specifically from the last few years. In our future, we're estimating that we'll have small growth in commercial, residential, and personal property as well. So just trying to be conservative because we do know that some of the new construction that is going on in our district is with the TIF Commission in Chesterfield area. So the tax dollars received from that will be diverted to pay off the bonds and such for the TIF district and not be received by the district. Some of the other major components, we have Proposition C. So we're forecasting a slight increase in Prop C revenues for next year, while the amount per weighted ADA, we're forecasting that to increase to $13.55 per weighted ADA, but our attendance weighted ADA is actually forecasted to be lower. So it takes the previous year weighted ADA, just so we know our enrollment has decreased, and then our attendance rates are not doing the best. They're definitely down from what they were pre-COVID. State formula, we're receiving less in state formula. Most of that, once again, is due to our decrease in our weighted average daily attendance. We do have some benefits of the weighting on the weighted average daily attendance, and that's because the threshold for free and reduced students reduced from previous years, so that reset, so that's to our benefit partially. And then the other parts of state revenues that we have a decrease on are mostly represented from our grants that we received in this current year that will not be duplicated next year. One other item to point out, in other local, we have a decrease of just over 1.5 million. Part of that is from our swim club revenues are moving over to Rockwood with all of swim club moving there. And then we also have the forecasted decrease in the financial institution tax. So overall, we have a net operating revenue decrease of 3.41%. Majority of that, of course, is from the federal line where we have a 51% decrease. And most of that is from our ESSER funds that are going to be completely spent out by September of 2024. Our title funds are forecasted to remain essentially the same. Federal programs, as you know, our revenues equal the budgeted expenditures for those programs, so there's not a net loss or gain on those. Previously, at other board meetings, you have approved food service funding increase, so an increase in student meal prices and also an increase in early childhood tuition. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Dawn Trokey, our Executive Director of Finance, who's going to walk you through our expenditures.
Good evening. Let's talk expenditures. Oh, it's not the bottom one. Okay. Technology. Okay. This screen shows the breakdown of our operating budget. You've seen this screen before, our dollar bill that breaks up our budget, and it's very similar to years in the past because our salaries and benefits take up the majority of our budget. In FY25, it's 82% of our budget will be made up of salary and benefits. The remaining is made up of the purchase services, supplies, and student activities. Next, we're going to talk about enrollment, and you can see from this screen that our enrollment has declined since around 2019. The voluntary transfer program enrollment is projected to decline substantially over the next few years as we phase out this program, but the resident student enrollment is projected to remain relatively flat over the next couple of years and then begin to increase slightly, so that's good. And to continue our enrollment story, this is broken out by grade level, so you can kind of see that our largest grade level is graduating. So there's a big chunk of students that are leaving, but you can also see that some of our grades are very, very similar in size from last year to this year. So that's where our, we're staying kind of flat. So staffing. We are adding some new positions in the FY25 budget. We're going to have 8 mental health support positions. The current social workers and the current care coordinators are transitioning into this mental health role, and then we are adding 8 positions on top of that. We will have 4 EL positions, excuse me, 1 reading specialist, 2 administration positions, which are the Executive Director of Operations and the Director of Human Resources, and then 4 504 facilitators and 1 Spark position. And enrollment deals with staffing, and as we said earlier, our enrollment is declining but projected to stabilize in the next few years. Also included in the staffing is our salary increases, and we completed the PNEA and PUMA negotiations this year, so that's good. We are still dealing with the challenge of hiring support staff and retaining that support staff. Some of our open positions as of now are 46 custodial positions are open, 8 bus drivers, 2 transportation mechanics, 9 ground positions, 9 maintenance positions, and 2 warehouse positions. So we're still struggling with that as we go forward. And to continue on with staffing, this is the staffing broken out by our different departments. You'll see in the 2024 and the 2025 columns, those numbers represent all those open positions I just spoke of. So that looks more like fully staffed. The very last column is the difference between current year and next year. And you'll see that there are 20 positions that are 20 FTEs that are being added, and those represent the 20 new positions that we just spoke of. All right, now we're going to talk about salary increases. This slide shows it broken out by employee group for this current year, next year, and then what we know of for the next year based on the negotiations that we've completed for those 3 years. In the 24-25 column, that is the average increase. Not every employee received that increase. That's just the average for that employee group. We also increased the pay band by 5%. So for support staff. So for example, the pay band part-time summer help was at $14, now it's $15. Pay band 2 for non-exempt, which is administrative and early childhood assistance 1 and dietary aids, folks like that. That was $15 this year, and now it's going to be $15.75 in the next year. And then we also increased custodial pay. That was at $15 in the current year, and now it's going to be $16.50 in FY25. So we're increasing those to help with that. So one thing I want to point out is you'll notice a little note by the PUMA 24-25, the 7.5% increase. That is not like the 8% of the regular support staff, and that is due to during negotiations, there were other benefit costs that were included in the initial contract for PUMA, which in turn netted the 7.45 increase that's shown here. And next we're going to talk about benefits. The district increased premiums in 2018 and then in 2022, and we haven't in 23 or 24. However, we are predicting that we will have to have an increase in 2025. However, our benefits program is performing much better than market. It's wonderful, and Parkway continues to utilize the CARE ATC clinic very well. And of course, we have an award-winning wellness program. We continue to have year over year an award-winning wellness program that helps with the whole doing better than market for our health benefits. We continue with employee outreach and education, emails, classes, programs, book studies, financial wellness. We just include it all so that we can support our employees as best we can. Retirement is another benefit. There's an increase based on the salaries. That's how retirement is calculated, but there is no projected increase in the percentage of retirement. It will stay the same. And I spoke about how we're performing much better than market. This is from our meeting with our benefits folks, the medical trend, our medical only trend. We have a 5-year annualized trend of 2%. It's amazing. So that's just a little brag on our benefits here. And another wonderful slide here is our CARE ATC return on investment. You'll notice that this timeline for this data is the 2023 calendar year. However, our clinic claim costs are the $880,000. The total clinic value of those claims is just a little bit over 1 million. So our return on investment is 1.2, so that's excellent. Also, I wanted to point out on this slide that our employee participation rate is 43%. We continue to work on raising that percent by getting the word out, asking the CARE ATC folks to come to our school, different programs that we have. We just recently had them come to the transportation office to answer questions and tell about their programs. We've had them come to the principals meeting. We also have them scheduled to come to the beginning of the school year meeting for new employees. Not all school districts have this wonderful benefit, so a lot of new employees don't have any idea how it works or how wonderful it can be. So we want to make sure we get that word out to the brand new folks as well. So we'll continue doing a lot of communication throughout the year to help support our CARE ATC and maybe raise our ROI even higher. This slide is our projected operating expenses. Before I go into this, Patty mentioned this earlier, but this is not a finance budget. This is a district budget that the whole district works on. And she mentioned, finance working with HR for the salary and benefits, but all of the building administrators they do their own budgeting for the purchase service and supplies for their building, zero-based budgeting. So that allows them to get what they need for their building. And so it is definitely a team effort. And we just thank everyone who has participated to get to where we are right now. So what I want to point out on this slide is that you'll see salary and benefits are increasing by about 6.7 million for next year. This includes the pay increases that we talked about. It also includes the 20 new positions, but it is also offset by the staff turnover savings that we have each year. Also in the benefit amount, that 2.6 million, that is also what's in there is a 4% increase on the benefits starting January 2025, because we think we're gonna have to raise that. Also on here, you will see that the purchase services and supplies and materials are decreasing around 4.7 million, but we need to remember, and Patty keeps telling me, and I keep trying to remember, in the 23-24 projected, that includes our rollover amounts that we do in the fall from the previous year. So therefore, those amounts are going to be higher than the initial budget for 24-25. That's why there's the decrease there. Okay, and now we get to our recapitulation of everything that Patty talked about, where the revenues are concerned and the expenses. The beginning fund balance, that is established at our spring budget adjustment. That calculates our ending FY24 fund balance at that point, and that carries over into our beginning FY25, so that's where that row comes from. You'll see that our operating funds and our debt service both have an increase. You'll also see that our capital projects has a decrease this year. What you'll also see is on the transfer line, there is no transfer between operating and capital projects this year. Mainly because our capital projects balance is very healthy right now, so there's really no need to do that. So that's why you're going to see a decrease, because we're spending those funds. And I think that's it for me. I'm going to turn it right back over to Patty, and she's going to finish it out.
Thank you very, very much. One other item I'd like to add on that on the capital projects, remember when we do recoupment, which is usually what we do after they settle the protest claims, we tend to then levy that amount into our capital projects fund because it's one-time recoupment of money that goes into the fund that should be utilized for one-time funds as well. So when we built the budget, we did not allocate any kind of levy, additional revenue other than interest that is going into that capital projects fund. This is the fund balance growth graph that's just shortened by year, so really just showing the last decade and then our future years. It also shows just our differential in the revenues over expenditures as well. Know that in future years, as Dawn mentioned, we'll still have a surplus in our operating budget, but we need that surplus just essentially to keep flat in our fund balance percentage. So as our expenditures grow, then we need slightly higher surplus, if you will, in order just to maintain that percentage. The other things we look at is, of course, our capital planning. We still have a few funds from 2018 bond issue that we have to spend down. Their job was to do that completely this year. There were some things that were on hold, like the Riverbend project in the North High, finishing up that project because there was architect fees in there. So we waited for all of the final billings from McCarthy as well before they started planning some future spending in there. So you'll see in our next year budget, we have a remaining estimate of $10,000 for 2018, and that's just in case there are some leftover funds there. We're continuing on our 2022 bond planning. You approved tonight the Riverbend project that's going to be the addition of some classrooms and of course storm shelter there as well. And then we also have been able to start planning the use of our capital planning budget as well. So we're trying to really be proactive on some of our roof repairs and not wait until they're past end of life to fix some of those leaks and such. So utilizing those funds. One roof in particular is Oakbrook Elementary that I believe we finally have stopped that leak in there, and that had been several years that leak had been taking place. And then, of course, our debt service fund, we have the growth in our assessed valuation. It's not capped by the CPI or the Hancock Amendment currently for debt service, so we're able to see that growth. We even have a call tomorrow, Carrie and I do, with Piper Sandler, which is our financial advisor, to work on some preliminary numbers for a fall refunding of existing bond issue. And of course, our goal is to maintain our AAA bond rating. Any questions?
I'd just first like to say thank you. It's bittersweet to have you present this for the last time because you always do such a great job. And now Dawn joining in your efforts too, but you always make this really complicated stuff seem a little bit more easy to understand. So we appreciate that, but at the same time, we're happy for you for your next adventure. And so we'll definitely be missing this time with you. It's important, I think we should recognize that Carrie Nunn, our new CFO, beginning officially in July, is here tonight and sitting through all this and meetings with you, I know, already and ongoing, as you mentioned, even tomorrow. And she's not even on the clock yet, so thank you. The only question I have is 727.
Oh, yeah,
And-
sorry.
And how
I was supposed to mention that.
how that will impact us next year, coming years, on down the road.
Yep. So I'm going to go back, if you don't mind, to just the slide with the revenues on there, because I missed my little note that I was supposed to mention that. So how will it impact us? Well, yet to come, how it will, but certainly written in the bill is anything from the fund for the open enrollment, essentially, the voucher program. Any needed funds are going to probably take it from our transportation funding. So while our transportation funding in the upcoming years, we've remained relatively flat, slight reduction just because our reduction in students. I will also say there's some line items in our budget, such as interest on earnings, that we really took a very conservative approach on those budget items. So, we essentially reduced some of that interest significantly, knowing that the feds are supposed to cut the rate by, 3 times, in this upcoming year, depending on which day you hear from them and such. So, looking at by the end of, this period of time, by the end of June of next year, that we'll have some rate cuts. We also have conservative growth in our new construction and our assessed valuation as well. So we don't think it's going to have a large impact on this upcoming year's budget, but certainly in those future year budgets, we do believe that it could have some significant impacts.
Is it fair to say, I mean, there's a lot of unknowns, Patty.
Right.
But you can't pass legislation that expands the vouchers and not expect it's gonna have some impact, right? And
Correct.
like you say, whether it's transportation or other areas.
The other part that it's going to impact us is if some of our students move to other districts as well. So then, we'll have that funding change from there. Because we receive so little from the state, students coming here won't have a large impact. So. The good news is that we have not only our operating fund balances, but we do have a bit of the safety net with the, essentially 24 cents that is there on our residential voluntary rollback. We can only adjust that every other year or reset. You can always deposit more into that rollback, but you can only reduce that rollback in non-reassessment years. So it will be important to continue with our multi-year forecasting and projections, essentially, especially with staffing and enrollment and such too.
If this is really our last budget presentation from you, Patty, I just want to thank you for all your service and always, like Jeff said, making this all so approachable. I'll never look at a dollar bill and not think about you.
Well, thank you very much, both of you. Yeah. Well, now I get to turn it over to Dr. Beckner and Dr. Holman Beth. I just combined them together. Thank you.
Thank you all
Thank
very
you.
much. Appreciate it. Yes, next up, the ones and only Dr. Kevin Beckner and Dr. Tiffany Holman Beth. We're almost to the goal line.
I just, as they're walking up, isn't it a pleasure to have a CFO who has always given attention to the curricular side, instruction side? Wouldn't you agree, the two of you?
Yep.
And that's not always true. I've worked under CFOs that don't always give a lot of attention, so we've been blessed with that as well.
Good evening. Patty's a hard act to follow. President Todd, members of the Board of Education, Dr. Marty, and Mrs. Stover, thanks for letting us come before you again for this work session on Project Parkway. We want to draw your attention this evening. We did give you a packet of information. We will go through that as part of our presentation. Tonight is really about focusing on the new components of the plan, and we're going to share some more in detail with you in a memo that you'll get this coming Friday. So I'm going to hop in. If you remember, we've been on this timeline for quite some time, and so we are in that last sprint of Project Parkway and that last column of the gray area there with looking at the 5-year strategic plan and really bringing it to its full fruition at this point. And so tonight, we're going to take a look at some key updates in these 5 areas. The strategic plan overview, which you have known as the 4-pager from the board workshop, looking at strategic initiatives, our plan organization, timeline, and action plans. And we have some samples for that for you this evening in your packet. So, on the first page of your packet kind of has this picture on it. Did we bring the red book? We didn't bring it. And so, long ago, when we had our strategic plan, there was a booklet that we put together. And so the tiles that you see on that page basically will come together in a publication. And so what we wanted you to see, based on some feedback we got from the board workshop, is what's the layout of that booklet going to look like to address some of the pieces that may have been missing. And so one of the things from the board workshop, we talked about, how did we get there? Where's that information? And so taking a look at how we got here, and then talking about the mission, which is also looped into our vision for a learner. And so all of that will become part of a larger booklet that is kind of diagrammed on this front page about where those pages would exist in the booklet. Then the 4-pager that we updated, we set and we did kind of a Critical Friends protocol with you all to give feedback on the pages that had the banner on it. I'm gonna hold this up. There's lots of edits that you guys will see in your board memo that we will talk through on Friday. And so this is updated with feedback, not just from the board workshop, but also from our leaders, our Project Parkway leaders, from principals and across departments, but also from strategic planning and the steering committee, have all had eyes on this document since we last were with you. And so that, again, will be detailed in the board memo. Lastly, we wanted to talk through, like, how are we measuring this? This was some of the feedback. This will also be included in the larger plan, likely in appendices. But we will be, like, one of the appendices will be our Success Ready Student Study, which we haven't really put in front of you, but this is part of the work that's going into the strategic plan that's informing some of our strategic initiatives on where we're headed. And so we wanted to give you what that layout would be to kind of address some of the missing components that we had as part of the board workshop. So you will notice that we've kind of color-coded this into the 3 areas for our strategic initiatives, and there are a lot. And so if you just take a brief skim of the screen, these were all under the area of success in school. Strategic initiatives, things that we are going to implement system-wide. And so Kevin's going to talk about how we're narrowing here in a minute, so I don't want to overwhelm you by what you're seeing. And so this really hits that instructional side, kids experience like while they're in school. And then looking at success outside of school, in life, beyond our 4 walls of the school, and how we're facilitating that while they're with us, and just by the nature of how we do business and how we learn in Parkway. And then also taking a look at our resources and management of those resources when it comes to facilities specifically, and addressing the student concerns that were part of the focus group information that we received in the fall. Our strategic planning team, as well as our leaders, really worked to whittle this down to what are the 6 key strategic initiatives that will lead as part of the strategic plan. It's not that the other things will not be worked on, but we really had to get down to the nuts and bolts of what's most important when we think about what's coming in a sequence. Kevin's going to talk a little bit about that when he talks about the timeline. And so you'll notice that all 3 areas are somewhat hit here, and then Kevin will talk about the timeline. I think we have resources addressed there. And so when we boiled this down, we really, really tried to get at what is essential and what is the essential work that will lead as part of the strategic plan, knowing that some of the other bullets on the previous graphics will also be addressed, but we really have to start somewhere, and these were the 6 areas that we felt like were most important and critical to the success of the system as a whole.
Just going back to this for one moment, one of the challenges we really have, and as a board, you've said this in some of our previous meetings, it's a lot. There's a lot in this plan, and how do you make sure that you do it all at the same time? Like Tiffany just said, we have to really try to narrow that down. So when we look at this list, what we have to recognize in building a timeline is we can't ask people to do all these things at the same time. You just can't. It won't be successful. And that's where we have been working internally to try to create, I think maybe it was our last board work session, a question was, what is that timeline? So that is part of what we've been working on since our last meeting, is figuring out what's the appropriate sequence. And we've really been talking about sequencing rather than priority. Priority says, this is more valuable than this. Like academics is more important than social emotional, or social emotional is more important than academics, or equity is more important than social, like we didn't want to get into that debate. So we really focus on what is the timeline, because they're all important, right? Because they're all important. So instead we focus on really how do we sequence these things? Not prioritize, but how do we put them in an order that's going to make the most sense? So in doing that, we tried to really focus again on order of operations. What is the right order of operations to make sure that we can be successful in implementing this plan? And then trying to put them on a timeline in a way that's going to certainly make the most sense. And so as we've been doing this work, we've really been thinking about these 5 phases. So there's study and background work. You have to just do like, okay, where are we going? What's the research say? How do we get there? What are other districts doing? All of that kind of thing. Then you have to do what we're calling like planning or design work, like things that have to happen before you actually start using them with students or using them in a classroom. So in my world, that might actually be writing curriculum with teachers. Like you are doing the work of writing curriculum, but you're not yet implementing that with students. We then wanted to be really clear that there's a professional learning phase. You can't just say, all right, everybody, we're doing this. You have to develop your teachers, your administrators, your curriculum folks, your social emotional folks. You just have to make sure everybody's rowing in the same direction, has the same information. Then we implement. And then importantly, we have to keep monitoring and coming back and adjusting once we see how it's working, or what might need to be adjusted as we're going through that process. Importantly, we are very likely to be doing things that are study or design work on one part of the plan while we're implementing a different part of the plan. So in trying to sequence these, it's making sure you're not implementing everything simultaneously or developing everybody simultaneously. You cannot do those pieces overlapping with each other. So you have a couple pages in your document that look like this. We're not going to go through every line by any means tonight, but we want to give you a sense of where these pieces are fitting in the timeline and the order of operations. So the first page that's in your packet, that's also on the screen, one of the things we are going to be focused on, actually, let me back up. We want every student to be successful in Parkway. That's the focus area. That is, how we're organizing the plan is every student successful in school. The umbrella of that is we're going to create a system where we can ensure success for all of our kids. Often in our parlance internally, that's called like a multi-tiered system of supports. It means you have kids who, they're doing really well with the universal things you're doing for everybody, that's sort of tier 1. But then you have some kids who need more time and additional support, that's sort of tier 2. And then you have students who need intensive support. They need remediation, they're missing background skills, that's that third tier. And all of those have to work together. Quality stuff happening in the classroom, along with having all these other supports and processes around them. And one thing we know in Parkway is we have never, we use the Understanding by Design model, which has always been how we write curriculum in Parkway. That really is, the whole idea is you start with the end in mind and you try to build backwards. And that's been a great model for us, it's been successful. Our students continue to succeed. We've heard from many of them tonight who are getting lots of awards. However, things have changed over the past 20 years because that was a model that was created in 1998. And a lot has changed, one of which is now the state really identifies for us here the clear standards that kids need to be learning. That was never actually part of the Understanding by Design model. So we need to change our model to really focus on what are the essential standards that every kid needs to know in every single class. That needs to come first before you do some of the other work. So you'll hear from us over the coming months that out of the gate, that's work that we're going to sequence first. It needs to go early in the timeline. And so that's why you see that first one starting a little bit earlier than, say, what Dr. Holman Best has been leading with our instructional model. Okay, you have that. Now what do we actually do in the classroom and what does high quality instruction look like? Then you have to make sure you have a quality PLC model or a way for teachers to collaborate around that. That sort of comes next. And then finally, once you have all that in place, we are going to update our teacher evaluation model. So you sort of see how that sequence flows out over the course of multiple years. And with the various pieces of how we're designing or how we're doing professional development. We've created something similar for like the SEL side of the organization of where do those pieces fit. And then our success in light, this is our resource allocation page. And what we're going to be doing with that. So all these pieces have to work in a sequence so that we're not overwhelming the whole system at one time. And that's work that we've been doing that will be included in your report. Our version of it is much, much busier. We tried to simplify it for tonight so that you can just see sort of how that whole plan unfolds. And then the last part that we've been working on is, okay, great, you have a timeline, but like, okay, so if I'm gonna have my team working with teachers in designing essential standards, you have to actually have an action plan that goes into the steps that you're gonna use. So we've included 2 example action plans in your packet, and I've got a picture and just up on the screen so those who don't have your packet can see, where we lay out what's the goal that we're working on that's in the strategic plan, who's in charge, what are the strategies that are associated with this plan? How are we gonna measure success? What are the benchmarks of that plan? Like, okay, we gotta get to this point, we gotta get to this point, and we gotta get to this point, all the way down to the next page, which is the actual action steps themselves. Here's what we have to bring teachers together to do X, we have to establish Y, and dates, budgets, and all of those pieces. So that is where we've been since the last time we were together. We've shared multiple times with you as the board the strategy document so that we could be on the same page about here's all of the pieces that we're gonna do of this work. And now we've been building out all these other components so that we can respond to the board's requests, see timelines more practically. Where are we going? What does this look like? When are we doing things? And that's what you have in your packet and what we have been working on over the past several weeks. And Tiffany's going to talk about our next steps and talk about questions.
So tonight, just with our work session and then these upcoming dates, you'll get a memo from us on Friday with some additional information and more detail. Final report to the board, you'll be reviewing that on the 31st of this month, and we hope to bring to you for vote on June 12th at the June board meeting. So at this time, we're happy to take any questions.
I don't have any questions. You've done such a great job at a very measured approach over the last 18 months that it's great.
I feel the same way, and if Debbie were here, I'm sure she would too.
I just want to, I'm really have been impressed. I've delved into strategic planning for a long time, and I think sometimes we've, in the past, and I think we're getting better at this, but these two individuals have really worked to give you, I think, the whole picture. You know, sometimes we present, I think it would be fair to say Project Parkway 1.0 was, you know, mission really driven, mission was so important, and then we had 6 areas of, you know, work, but I don't think it had this detail out of the chute as the board was approving it. And work got done, but I think what Tiffany and Kevin have done here with the input from a lot of people and a lot of meetings is to really kind of drive us to really see the future. Now, there may be some things, right, you're gonna, you know, what we say is gonna happen in, you know, especially 26, 27, may change because of other factors and other things going on, but at least you get the full picture. And I think that's pretty impressive when you think about a plan, because again, sometimes it's like, you know, it's very ambitious, we're gonna do this, but we're kind of playing as we're going, building, what they say, you know, plane is flying and we're kind of building it. But I think I'm really impressed with what they have done here to, I think, give us a really big picture. And also, I think when we think about budget and staffing and some of the implications, we can kind of think down the road, what is gonna be some of the impact that we may have to deal with in looking forward to staffing or changes or even facility use. So I think they've done a great job, and I hope you appreciate it when you start seeing this all come together. And I think it's been also very good that we've taken time at board meetings for you to kind of see how this has all come along.
Anyone have any questions?
Great work.
Yeah, I know for Debbie and Tiffany, being able to participate in the steering committee, I mean, it gives us that much more insight into how you put this all together, but it's been very impressive from the beginning. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have no special meeting, and now may I have a motion and a second to adjourn the regular meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Thank you all very much.